Well, hello everybody. I'm Chun here, and today I want to talk about the Olympics. So I'm going to have to beg your indulgence for quite a few moments. I want to talk about the competition, how it went, the opening and closing ceremonies, and my thoughts on it as a British person. So, well, the first element of it is what the British athletes did fantastically. I don't think we've ever come third on the medals table before, for a start. So yeah, that was quite fantastic. Couple of highlights, let's think. Jessica Ennis winning the heptathlon, pretty good thing. I think she's been an incredible talent really for a lot of years. Who else was there? Mo Farah winning two golds was pretty awesome. Anthony Joshua, heart in my mouth when I found out they were going to appeal that decision. But in the end, I don't really think the guy he fought should have been that far ahead of him in the second round anyway. So it shouldn't have even been that close a fight. Although it should have been a close fight, but not that close. And yeah, it was a really good Olympics for Britain, and then the British athletes. We have so many gold medalists. Obviously, Bradley Wiggins, got to give it to him. For a while, was the most decorated Olympian that Britain's ever had. And then along came Chris Hoy and won 2 extra golds. Britain continued to dominate the cycling in the velodrome, despite the fact that the velodrome people tried to put the screws to the British athletes by saying you're only allowed 1 athlete per event, and that was perceived as an attempt to screw over Great Britain, because we'd dominated so much in Beijing in that event, and it didn't work. We still dominated. Then you also had there was something else. Oh yeah, we won through Mo Farah, won our first ever gold in the 10,000 meters, which is nice, which is pretty awesome. Bradley Wiggins, particularly following on from his Tour de France, that was awesome. And for my final thing on athletes, which was my personal highlight, I think, of the whole thing, despite my support for the Swiss, was Andy Murray, because it's a little known fact, and it might be a little bit more known now that I've put it up in a video before, that I'm a huge fan of tennis. I've only recently started playing it myself, which is long overdue. I've long meant to start playing tennis, and starting to get reasonable-ish at it now. I can serve into the box. You know, it doesn't normally go out of my serves. I've started to every so often try and get a little bit more power on those serves, and I'm hitting good backhand, whatever. I'm not here to talk about me, but I'm just trying to get across the fact I like tennis. Andy Murray was played Roger Federer, the Swiss, at Wimbledon, and lost. Not badly. It was a good fight. It was a really good fight. No, it was a good match. You know, it was a very good match, very entertaining. Very good show, but in the end he broke down, he cried because he put so much into it, and couldn't believe he let down the home fans. So to see him go up against Roger Federer again in the final of the Olympics, the rematch, having dispatched Novak Djokovic, the Serb, and apparently a man who features in the Expendables too, it was really good to see that, and to win in straight sets. That was incredible. I didn't think he'd win in straight sets. In fact, I didn't think he'd win. I mean, it's Roger Federer, for crying out loud. But he won, and that was a good moment, particularly for me, being a tennis fan. I thought that was my personal highlight of the Olympics. Although tennis isn't really one of the main sports you consider, like, the Olympics. That's what it's all about. Plus, I would say the gymnastics was quite good as well. I always enjoy watching the gymnastics because you get lots of stuff happening in the gymnastics that you just consider superhuman, like all the tumbles they do on the floor, and all this. It's just amazing. And diving falls into that category as well. So, ceremonies. The opening ceremony I thought was quite good. I loved the whole spectacular thing with the Industrial Revolution thing, and Ken Branagh and Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson I thought that was quite funny. I just laugh as soon as I see his face, and Rowan Atkinson is an incredible actor in a sense that he doesn't have to talk to be funny. All he has to do is pull a facial expression, and it tells you 1,000 words. And you noticed it in Mr. Bean. I mean, if it weren't for Rowan Atkinson being as good as he is as a physical actor, Mr. Bean wouldn't have worked. It would have just been a stupid piece of hated rubbish. But through Rowan Atkinson, it became a piece of comedic brilliance. And I think he did that with the opening ceremony, playing the piano, just playing the one note and looking really fed up, you know, whatever it was, whatever noises he made as Mr. Bean. The Industrial Revolution was also quite spectacular with the chimneys and forging the Olympic rings. I thought that was clever. You know, the way all the molten lava came in, you know, molten steel, came in and then forged the rings and then hoisting them up into the air with the marvel at it. And some of the music in the opening ceremony was also quite good. Obviously the Queen with Daniel Craig, 007, that was awesome. I thought that was quite brilliant. Obviously it was going to be 007 entering Buckingham Palace, and although this might surprise any international viewers, not even many British people really know that much about, I can't believe I don't go and get to see here. I'm like, hang on a minute, oh my god, it's being captured. And I'm like, okay, I can't see. Oh, too late. Actually, no, I do get to defend. Oh, I thought I dropped C. Whoops. But it might come as a shock to international viewers, but not many British people really know what the inside of Buckingham Palace is like. So it was nice as a British person to see inside the iconic house, one of the only houses in the world more famous than the White House. If it is more famous than the White House, actually, to the rest of the world it probably isn't, because it's more of a palace, and most people don't think of it as a house, but that's what it officially is. So yeah, it was nice to see in there. And then have the Queen dive out of the helicopter and parachute in, and before her appearance, I think that was a very, very good sport of her to do that. I thought that was quite funny. And then unfortunately for the opening ceremony, it had to be spoiled at the end with Paul McCartney. Now, I know a lot of people might be thinking I'm being blasphemous to the Beatles. Not my intention. I love the Beatles music, and they are rightfully celebrated as they are. I'm not disputing that. And I'm not disputing that Paul McCartney has a right in any Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in any Music Hall of Fame. He deserves a place there. But it's a difficult situation. He's way past his prime and he can't really sing anymore. And he didn't really seem to know where he was when he performed at the opening ceremony, and it was a bit of a shame. Because I think it's a bit of an insult to the memory of the Beatles when you see a man struggling through a performance of a classic like Hey Jude, which was a bit of a shame, really. And thankfully, though, the crowd got into it and did the na 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 na, which was all right. But yeah, I wasn't really that impressed. So the closing ceremony. Well, it started off well, didn't it? With the model of London and banging the drums and Spellbound, and I guess all. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to repeat my joking, blasphemous comment about One Direction being the best yet. They just suck on all levels, but and then it sort of got bad. After One Direction, it got really awful with George. Oh god, poor George Michael. What's that guy? That guy looks spaced out as hell. And his dancing and his couldn't sing anymore. Really, he was a legend in his day, rightfully so. Again, another man who I'm not trying to say was a bad performer. He's just not a good performer anymore. Yeah, it's nice for nostalgia's sake to see him perform, but I mean, there are probably better singers and people who are probably more well known by an audience watching that ceremony than George Michael, and who can actually sing and have some pretty good hits. I don't know. I'm thinking somebody like Adele. Although I was an advocate of Led Zeppelin performing, which, I know Robert Plant, which actually that's not really a big point to bring up, because Robert Plant can still sing. He can't sing the high-pitched notes like he used to, but he can still sing, he can still get into it. But anyway, so it went really bad at that point, and then there's a load of really irrelevant stuff, like a man walking on a tightrope, shaking hands with a model of himself, which then caught on fire. I was just thinking that watching, going like, what the hell? What's that got to do with anything? And then there's a load of people dancing around to always look on the bright side of life, and then they did an Indian dance. I was just like, Why the hell is there a load of Indian dancers in an English closing ceremony? That makes no sense. What relevance does that have to the Olympics, Rio de Janeiro, anything in that, for that matter, of that closing ceremony? And it was just a surreal moment where a guy was just performing on The Bright Side of Life, well known for Monty Python and The Life of Brian, a classic British film. And all of a sudden, a load of Indian dancers come out, and he looks confused. And he represented, I think, the vast majority of the audience as that segment unfolded. But fortunately, it picked up again. We brought out a couple of trio of good artists, Tiny Temper, Jessie J, and then we got even Fatboy Slim was actually pretty good. And then we had. The Spice Girls surprisingly put on a really good performance, and even more shocking, Victoria Beckham didn't look miserable, which I find absolutely astonishing. And then Liam Gallagher performed Wonderwall, probably much to Noel's chagrin, who would have rather have been there. And and then Queen and Freddie Mercury. What a class act! I mean, he still got it. I tell you, that man still got it. And oh, look at this point. This is when we could have lost this, but unfortunately I get in there and get the last kill and secure the flag before it's too late. That was a critical moment, that. But yeah, so ceremony, not brilliant in the end, the closing ceremony, but it's all right. Olympics as a whole, can't complain. I've loved every moment of it. But this is Chun here, and you know what's going to come up now, and everything I'd like to say.